On this week's show, is the buy-to-let market dead?
In the news, we reveal which city has capped any further rent increases over the next 5 years.
And we're going to be answering all your property-related questions. Welcome to the Property Investors Podcast. Thanks so much for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe so you never miss an upload. You can catch us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. Enjoy this week's show and don't forget to share it with all your friends. Hi, I'm Russell Leeds.
I'm Alasdair Cunningham.
And welcome to this week's Property Investors Podcast. Interesting show because obviously we're talking about buy-to-lets. Are buy-to-lets dead?
Yep.
I mean, for me, when I first got into property, buy-to-lets was where it was at, and then it kind of advanced onto other things like HMO, service accommodation, buy-to-refurbish finance. But it all started for me with buy-to-lets. So a lot of people are saying buy-to-lets are dead now.
Yeah, a lot of people are. So we're going to be discussing that later.
Pretty interesting. Before we get cracking into that, tell us about what you've been up to. Anything exciting?
Just events. So we had a couple of crash courses, which have been really good. Do you know what? The last crash course was really good. It was a very intimate room. There was only about 250 people there. But it was a buzzing room. So yeah, it was very, very good. What about yourself?
I've been to the theatre.
Okay, what did you go and see?
I went to see The Only Fools and Horses.
I've been wanting to go and see that. Was it good?
It's very good. Very good.
How? I want to go and see it, but I'm trying to work out how they would do it. Like what's it was Del Boy's Del Boy, isn't he? Like it's very difficult for somebody to play Del Boy.
Yeah.
How did that come about?
I think they did a really good job.
Okay.
I think they did a really good job of creating the characters.
Yeah.
They had they sounded a bit like them. And obviously from when you actually look at the photos, they look nothing like the guy looks nothing like Del Boy. But because it's on stage and you're a little bit of distance away, and they're wearing the Del Boy coat, the Del Boy cap, and all that. It kind of looked. It was really good though. It's basically like a very long episode.
Okay.
With bits. They'd put together an episode by taking bits of the series, scenes from the series, and putting it together into a story in its own right.
Cool.
But it's great, really good, highly recommend it. And I used an app to buy the tickets, so you guys might find this interesting if you're in London wanting West End tickets. Royal Circle, so it wasn't like the best seats in the house, but it was decent, very, very decent seats. Had a really good view. And I picked ones right on the end, so I had no one next to me, which I like.
Yeah, I always do that.
Yeah.
And also, if you need to get up and go to the bathroom or go and get a drink,
you've got
whatever.
that problem. Sorry. Carry on. Right, but there's an app called Today Ticks.
Okay.
And have a guess how much it cost me.
I don't know.
Using Today Ticks to get two tickets to that.
50p.
Yep, it was 50p.
How much was that?
How much was it? It was 25 quid a ticket.
How much is it normally?
I don't know, but more. 35, 40 quid.
Are you sure? Because I actually think it's cheaper.
Really?
I'd be interested.
25 quid for a West End show?
No, it's cheap. It's cheap, but it's not that much, that expensive actually on the website, I don't think.
I think it was meant to be about... you can get cheaper tickets, but I had decent seats. I think it was meant to be about 38 quid.
That's a good point. You're Grand Circle, so that's good.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you enjoyed it. So I'll have to go down and see it.
You should.
I love Only Fools and Horses. It's such a.
It's classic.
It's an all-time classic, isn't it?
Yeah.
And even in 10 years, we'll still be watching it, and 20 years, we'll still be watching it.
Well, it's kind of before my time, really. The series finished. It's like an 80s show.
Yeah.
It's more your sort of time, but I still relate to it even though I wasn't born, during
I knew that's where you were going as soon as you said it's kind of before my time. So anyway, is the buy-to-let market dead? What's your take on it?
Very, very good question. Very good question. Is the buy-to-let market dead? I would say no.
Yeah, I would say no as well. It's not dead, it's just different. So like they were saying the buy-to-let market's dead in 2008, 2009. There was people selling up because things are changing, obviously the big recession, but there's more wealthy people since then than there have ever been. So I don't for 1 minute think the buy-to-let market's dead. I think all you've got to do is you've got to strategize, you've got to be very creative, and you've got to treat it like a business. I think if you're stuck in your old ways of like going to a high street lender, financing it that way, and doing it completely sort of safe, shall we say, then yeah, maybe perhaps the margins are not as big as they used to be.
Okay, well, what are the arguments you would say that people think? Why would someone even say is buy-to-let dead? What are the
a lot of the things that I'm seeing, a lot of people criticising, a lot of the media, obviously the new rule changes with tax, Section 24, things like that. So
we did a show. If we could put a link in, Nick, we did an episode talking about the tax changes and the implications with, interest on your mortgage and all that sort of stuff.
Okay, so just to recap, what is Section 24 for those that aren't aware?
So Section 24 is the rules that came in that meant that you couldn't offset the interest payments on your mortgage. You couldn't claim that as a tax deductible expense.
Yeah, okay.
So it basically meant that for the first time ever, you could actually have to pay more tax than you were actually making in profit.
Yeah, it's interesting because I speak to a lot of landlords, and I know quite a few landlords that are sort of accidental landlords. So they've inherited, or they've just, back in the 80s, 90s, they bought a couple of properties and they're just running along as a landlord.
We position them so perfectly as well.
Sorry, they're just running along as a landlord, making a little bit of money every month. With the new rule changes, it means that little bit of money is now even less, if not negative. And it's crazy that some. I know a landlord, for instance, that owns a £400,000 house, and it's actually costing them money. Because
of course,
it's just ridiculous. Yeah. It's costing them money in tax, and they're looking to offload. And the thing is, they're damned if they do, damned if they don't. If they sell, they're going to get all sorts of taxes. If they don't sell, they're going to get hit with income tax, and they can't offset the mortgage payments. And if they try and put them into a limited company, they're going to get taxed and all sorts.
It's ridiculous,
so
really.
I'm sure there's ways around it, but you need to speak to your accountant.
There is ways around it. You can buy through we can set up a limited company. This is not the show to talk about that. If you want to talk about that, watch the other show. But yeah, so you've got problems like that.
Yeah.
I mean, the good thing about buy-to-let, when you compare it to HMO, service accommodation, and everything, is that it's much easier to manage.
Yeah.
So even if you're not managing it, there's a case of you have to manage the manager, don't you? So if you've got like a HMO manager in place, even though they're the one who's ultimately responsible. You're
the landlord. You're the one that's names on it. You're the one that's on the AST contract. It's your responsibility. It's fundamentally, it's going to be you in court if something goes wrong.
So if they have problems, if they have voids, whatever it is, obviously it falls on you. With a buy-to-let, it's much easier. You don't have to find a specialist. Any sort of high street letting agency can rent out a property.
You'd like to think.
You'd like
there's a lot of very incompetent letting agents.
You would like, and from my experience, they do.
Yeah.
From my experience, they do. So
I think the lessons here. Look, if you're old school and you've inherited a couple of properties, or you've just happened to acquire a few properties over your time, because fundamentally, property investment will always make money. Fundamentally, over time, absolutely. But if you're like, let's just say you're an old school investor, for instance, you're very stuck in your own ways. You've got a couple of properties that you're just renting out as a single let basis, and now you're being hit massively by changes, by rules. Get creative. Like, maybe can you use them same properties and get more money from them? So could you, for instance, run them as service accommodation, or run them as HMO, or holiday letter for whatever. Just get a little bit creative and
brothel.
Well, maybe. But what what I'm trying to get at is every property should have more than one exit strategy. So if your only exit strategy is as a single let property, then maybe start looking at it. And so I think the lessons here are, when you're buying, make sure you've got multiple exits. If it won't work as a single let because you're not going to make enough money because of the rule changes, could it be run as a HMO, or could it be run as a service accommodation? Do you know what I mean? So just get creative with how you're doing things.
I think as long as you know what you're doing when you go into it. I think where they were really unfair is they tend to target the amateur investors, don't they? They target and make it difficult for them. So as long as you know what you're doing,
why do they do that? I wonder, why is it they do that? Why is it the establishment, the government, the banks, everybody, whoever makes these rules, why is it they always seem to target the small guy who's got 2 or 3 properties, or he's got a small business? Why?
Because they're an easy target, aren't they? It's the same as why do the government target small business owners?
Yeah.
It's a case of you the more money you earn, the more tax you pay.
Yeah.
Until you get to a certain level where it reverses. That they're targeting the everyday, because a few reasons. Number one, there's a lot more of them.
Yeah.
And number two, they're an easy target because they don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
A professional will look at it and change it, and the professionals will
move with the times.
Yeah. So they're just targeting people that don't know what they're doing because they're an easy target and they'll make more money.
There's a lesson. You've just got to be flexible and move with the times.
Always.
I think you've got to always be looking at what the markets are doing, what rule changes are coming out, what's going to affect your business. Because let's face it, if you're a property investor, you should be treating this like a business, not like a side hustle. Treat it like a business, act like a business. Treat it like it's a high street retail shop. If suddenly there's a load of changes come in, you move and you be fluid so that you can avoid them impacts and avoid them hits.
Well, it's particularly
and just move on.
Particularly easy to make that mistake on something that's giving you a passive income. Because in your head, this is passive, I'll leave
hands
it,
off.
Ignore it, hands off. No, it's fine, carry on. But it's the same with businesses, isn't it? Look
100%.
at companies like Blockbuster.
Yes.
Blockbuster had the chance to buy Netflix.
Didn't take it.
And we're like, no, we will stick with our video shops, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Because they didn't move with the times. I mean, the world right now is changing faster than it's ever changed before in history.
Yeah.
So if there's any time where you need to be adaptable, you need to stick to change, you need to be making moves and going with the flow, it's now. Whether that's property, whether that's business, whether that's whatever it is.
Move with the times.
You need to move with the times.
Look into this, right? So for instance, 10 years ago, rent to rent was not even a thing.
I think it was a thing,
but
it wasn't.
Not many people knew about it. Come on, not like it is today. Service accommodation was not a thing. Like nobody was doing it, or very, very few.
It was a
people.
thing again. It just wasn't. It was a thing. It just was. I mean, think about it. Holiday lets. It's an extension of that.
Yeah, but not the way we see it today. The way we see it today,
it's growing a lot.
It's growing massive, and it's now the thing. If 10 years ago, if you were looking to go away on business, you wouldn't even entertain staying in an apartment somewhere. You would just book into a local holiday inn or travel lodge or whatever, Premier Inn or whatever it was. So you wouldn't even look at booking.com to look for apartments, you would just book into the local hotel. That is what happened. Or a B&B. Back then it moved B&B. Look at the way people shop, differently. Everything's online. The world is moving so fast. If you want to keep up, you have to move your business to keep up. Otherwise, your business will fail. And this is the thing you're seeing all across the country, like B&B owners. They're struggling to compete with service accommodation because they're refusing to move with the times. And that's why you're seeing so many bed and breakfasts for sale on Rightmove. There's thousands of them that they're not profitable, they're not making any money, and they're trying to offload, they're trying to sell because service accommodation, which is the new thing, has come along. The B&B owners have not moved with the times, and now they're getting impacted. So for them, investments are not good. But to say buy-to-lets are dead is a very blanket statement, and I think it's fear-mongering. It's people that are stuck in their ways of doing it old school.
But B&Bs, for example, they're in a great position because they've got these big properties with rooms, and they could very easily just systemize it into a hands-off HMO, highway cleaner. Do you know what I mean? They're in a great situation to adapt, but they don't. Because they're just like, no, this is how we do it. And it's the same with singles. So buy-to-lets very much are not dead.
No, I agree.
But they've just changed. Like you said, I think you summed it up really well. The first sentence what you said, they're not dead, but they've changed, and you're right.
So what are the lessons to take away if you're looking to education? I think education is super, super key.
Always. And it's not even that complicated.
No, it's not.
The crash course, which is a free, the first day is about buy-to-lets.
Yeah, single buy-to-lets.
Free. If you want to do buy-to-lets, you don't need much training. You can go on a free day, and you can find out about buy-to-lets. It's pretty easy how to find the deal. People don't know how to do. People come to me all the time, like my friends and that. Oh, I'm thinking of buying this, and it's like, and they're like, yeah, it's pretty good, isn't it? It's like a 250 grand house. Yeah. And I'm like, no, it's terrible. Do
you know? 2 weeks ago, I ran a crash course in Birmingham. No, in London. Was it London? Anyway, I think it was London. It was the
Millennium Gloucester.
Yeah, Millennium Gloucester. Chelsea, yeah, that's it. So I ran a crash course, and on day one, I was doing the whole finding the deal online on the stage, and I done that. I've actually put an offer in that house yesterday.
Did you?
Yeah, the deal I found was that good. It was very, very good. So it's a property in Warrington, and it's a repossession, which is fine. But it's worth about 85,000. We've had offer accepted at 42.5. So
fair place.
Yeah, it's literally half. It was on the market for 50, and we got it down to 42.5.
Have you got to spend much money on it?
Pricing's come back about 13,000 for refurb.
So make
It should be good. Yeah, it should be.
Make a bit on that. Buy yourself a new Porsche.
Yeah, we're waiting to see. So offer's been accepted, but it's a company sale, repossession. So you could literally get to completion and just pull out and it just get gazumped. However, we'll see what happens. But that's interesting that we found that on day one of the crash course. I found it day one of the crash course.
And it's funny because like hundreds of people would be in the room and saw you. I mean, none of them have.
I gave them all the opportunity to jump on it. I said, look, who wants it? And a few were like, yeah, I'll have it. But nobody went to do it.
Gave everyone the opportunity to jump on it, and no one took him up on it.
And I went.
What? What?
My life story. And I went up, viewed it. We've had builders go out. We've priced it up. Numbers work at what we've offered, and it's provisionally been accepted. So, boom,
nice,
shaka. On that bombshell.
Boom. Right, it's now time for this.
Welcome back, guys, and in the news this week, we have a city that has capped rent rises for the next 5 years, and my good friend Russell will tell you more.
I mean, just let that sink in for a minute. So, can you imagine if that it's not in London, thank God, but can you imagine if that happened in London? It's just like citywide, you cannot raise the rents for 5 years.
It's quite interesting.
That, like, 5 years is a long time.
Yeah.
A long time. Very interesting.
It is a long time. So where is it, man? Reveal. Come on, reveal.
It is, drumroll, Berlin. So luckily it's not in the UK. So do you want me to give you this and you can tell me what you think?
Go on then.
So the Berlin State Cabinet agrees a 5-year rent freeze. Berlin State Cabinet has agreed on a 5-year rent freeze for 5 years a 5-year rent freeze for 5 years. It's not very well written, is it? Well, this is on The Guardian. Maybe I just read it wrong. I added 5 years in, sorry. To counter the rising housing costs in the German capital. The city's left-wing coalition government wants to freeze the rents for the any apartment built before 2014, according to a report by the German news agency DPA. Only a minority of Berliners own their homes or apartments, and the rent has been rising sharply in recent years, forcing many to move outside the city. The city had been a low-rent mecca for many years after the fall of the Berlin Wall in 1989. Opened the gates to economically depressed former communist east of the city. This gave rise to an influx of artists and others seeking a more bohemian way of life. I don't know. I just thought that's like crazy that they could do that.
Yeah, but if you noticed, it was only on apartments that are pre-2014, so anything after 2014, it's not covered by that.
How many properties do you own after 2014?
Oh, yeah, no, I know that. Not many.
How many? Well, I don't know anything.
None. Yeah, I know that. But maybe out there, maybe that's incentivizing new build. Do you not think?
It is, but it's in a big city. I mean, most of it's going to already be there, isn't it?
Yeah, but that will be incentivizing developments. Maybe that's what they're trying to do, so that you can build a property and then you can charge what the heck you want.
They're just trying to stop rent increases from the sound of it.
Who benefits? The tenants at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Landlords don't benefit.
Well, no, of course not. It's going to stop that. It's also going to stop that for the. It's going to stop the house prices from rising. Because who's going to want to buy? What landlord's going to want to buy there now?
Yeah, exactly. Who's going to buy? Nobody.
Having said that, I very rarely put the rents up on my places.
You haven't put the rents up on the first house you ever bought, ever.
No.
We had this conversation before. The same lady that's lived there for like 7 years or something.
Yeah, I never put. If they're still there, I never put the rent up.
So would it be that much of a problem? That's the thing. Think about it, really. Because if you've never put your rents up,
it's just controlling the market, isn't it? I never like it when they do things like that because it's like surely it's just stamping all over supply and demand, and it's a very for me as someone who's an entrepreneur that believes in people will pay what it's worth. It's very red tape and controlling, isn't it?
It's interesting that. I wonder where...
It's like almost communist type attitude, isn't it? It's like, we're going to tell you how much you can rent your house out for. Like,
I wonder where Berlin is on the rent scale. I wonder if it's a naturally high place anyway.
It used to be low, but it said traditionally it's low, but it's gone up a lot recently.
Yeah,
but
so it's gone up. So I'm wondering where, in the scale of like other German cities, where it stands with regards to rents. Because if it's already quite high, all they're doing is stopping it going even higher. So it might still be a good place to invest.
Yeah, but
it's the fact they've capped
principle.
it because they could extend that quite easily.
Yeah, well,
they could just if they can do that, what else are they going to do?
How are they allowed to do that? It's not their property, is it? It's like who are they?
Yeah.
Who are they to say?
There must be a governing body that.
Well, it is the government. Well, what I'm saying is, but who would the UK governments turn around to you, to Alasdair Cunningham, and say that house, you've got to rent it out, but no more. You can't put the rent up on that house.
Yeah,
it's a joke.
It's a joke. I agree with you.
How would it work if I wanted to turn it into a HMO? What would happen then?
I don't know.
Would I not be allowed? Because technically the rent would be going up.
Maybe. Who knows?
What I don't like about it
good thing is we don't invest in Berlin, so...
No, but what I don't like about it is the precedent.
Yeah.
If they do it over in Germany, what will stop them doing it over here?
Well, it's in Europe, isn't it? So we're not going to have that problem as of 1st of November.
We'll see.
Yeah, we will see, actually. That's a good point.
We'll see. Who knows? Who knows? Anyway, something interesting for you guys. I don't know. So we'd love to know what you think. If you think it's a good thing or a bad thing, or if you've got any opinions on it, please comment. Please do let us know. But
I think it sucks.
I think it sucks as well.
So... On that
terrible disappointment, it's time for this. Okay, so it's time for the questions and answers. You're looking very tall, Alasdair. Okay, so if you ever want to ask a question, by the way, please go on the Facebook group Property Investors with Samuel Leeds. We tend to do a Facebook Live in there every now and again where you can come on and ask questions, and then we answer them on here. Okay, so the first question is from Steve Bench. Hey Steve, keep up the good work. My question, although it can vary, in your experience guys, how many hours do you think makes the best productive average working day or week for a full-time property investor? Cheers or cheers even. Cheers. Steve.
It depends how much you want to get out of it. I mean, How quickly do you want to get successful? How quickly do you want to get out of it, out your job, for instance?
Well, I suppose he's put full time.
Full time.
So I suppose it means so this would apply for a property investor, for a job, for anything that you're doing. So if you're running a business, which
it's business,
in this case a full time property investor, it's a business. How many hours a week would you spend on it?
I would spend as much as possible because that's just what I'm like. I like to make sure things are done properly, and
give me a number. What do you think is a productive number? See, I know people that say, for example, you should work 4 hours a day.
Yep.
Because then you can go full out for 4 hours, absolutely non-stop, and then you can do something else. And if 4 hours, absolute non-stop, is more productive than most people's 9 to 5.
I completely agree with you. The thing is, I couldn't put a time on it, but because I'm always... like my life doesn't stop because of property, but then property doesn't stop because of my life. I mix it and I combine it. So like some days I might spend all day doing property and I might spend all day doing whatever I've got to do. Then other days I might not touch it. I might not even think about it.
But let's say you were thinking to yourself,
4 to 6 hours.
4 to 6.
Yeah.
Is that all? Do you reckon?
Yeah. But the thing is, we both do more than that. Right, so
so then we should answer.
This is not really a question I can answer, to be quite honest. Of course it is,
because he's asking you, because he wants to model it on someone.
Fine, I spend 7 days a week thinking about houses, thinking about property, thinking about my next move. That's true. And I might not spend 10 hours a day doing it, but instead of watching EastEnders at night, I'm looking and thinking about, and I'm strategizing about property. I'm strategizing about the next event, the next this, the next that. So we're talking about... So
just all the time.
I'm always thinking about property in my spare time. So it's quite sad, really, that I don't really have much of a social life. But that I choose this. I choose to be heavily involved in property. I choose to get on with it because I want to be super successful in it.
Yeah.
And if I've got to spend loads of time doing it, then I will. Don't be that person that says, "Oh yeah, I'm going to do this," and then literally won't give it any time, because you'll never get anywhere. The amount of people that I say that. The amount of people that I see that want to become deal sourcers and they want to be really, really good at property. Now, that's not investing, that's becoming a property entrepreneur. But the amount of people that come to me and say, look, I want to find investors. And I'm like, great, how many networking events do you go to? And they're like, well, I went to one like every couple of months. I'm like, well, that's rubbish. You're never going to build a business doing that.
No.
So if you want it, you've got to get out there and you've got to do it. If you want to build investors, you get out there and you network 3-4 times a week.
I would start small. I would think it's all about consistency, isn't it? So if you're going to go networking, don't just go once a week, maybe.
The same event every time.
Yeah. What I always say, for someone that's starting out in property, although normally, to be fair, it is alongside their full-time job, but you want to be doing a minimum of 7 hours a week.
Yep.
Absolute minimum of 7 hours a week. So if it's your full-time job and you're going all into it. Personally, my full-time job, I work like I'm similar to you guys. I work all the time, but if you're gonna be doing it alongside something else, just allocate some time, whatever you think. I don't think there's a right or wrong answer.
I don't either. I think it depends on how quick you want to go and
that's wrong.
How much you've got on. Why is it wrong?
I was joking.
But instead of just think about it. Like every single morning, like most people wake up. What's the first thing they do? Apart from you, what's the first thing they do when you wake up in the morning? Generally, most people. What's the first thing they do?
What's the first thing you do when you wake up in the
No,
morning?
what's the first thing most people do? Most people pick up their phone, scroll through social media. That is true. Yeah, they look at their phone.
Right.
Don't be rude.
What?
They look at their phone. That's true. They probably spend half an hour in the bed looking at their phone. At night, they probably spend an hour and a half, 2 hours scrolling through social media. So instead of doing that, scroll through Rightmove, scroll through Gumtree, find leads, find deals, scroll through networking events. Just use social media, but for a better use. Next question, please.
Next question, okay. This is of you in disguise. Alexander Cunningham. This is your long-lost brother. Hi, guys.
Hey, Alexander.
Absolutely love your podcast. This is your bro.
No, I don't have a clue who he is. I genuinely don't.
Just a quick one for you. Is there any way I can get a mortgage at the age of 17 up in Scotland, or do I have to wait till I'm 18?
That's what you're 18. Legal, you can't get a mortgage till you can't get any finance on anything. Will it be a credit card? Will it be a loan? Will it be anything legally until you're 18?
No, it's crazy, isn't it? Because you're old enough to drive, you're old enough to have children, but you're not old enough to drink alcohol in a pub or get a mortgage.
Yeah, it is what it is. We we don't make the rules. We just have to play by them. So look, 18, bro. You might get a mortgage.
Samuel got around it by getting it in. I think the first. I can't remember if he used me for the first one or the second one, but my stepdad. It was in some myself. Yeah. He got it in our name.
He brought you into the deal, and you both done the deal. But
yeah. So that's something you could potentially do.
You're 17 years old, man. Get out there, get work, get meeting people, get along to seminars, networks, events.
Can you do things like training? Rent?
I would say no, because you're entering into a legal contract.
But you can't rent when you're 17.
I would say no, because you're entering into a legal contract.
Well, come on. How can you not rent when you're 17? Because people move out at 16. What do you do?
Maybe I'm wrong, but I personally would say no until you're 18, because you're not legally responsible. Speak to a solicitor about that. But what I'm getting at is you're 17. When are you 18? Can't be that far away. Make sure you're out networking, get to know people. You can do so much ready for when you're 18. But bear in mind, you'll probably not get a buy-to-let mortgage until you're 21. So bear that in mind. Unfortunately.
Daniel Roberts, hi guys, good stuff. Do you think that buy-to-let can be hands-off with a management team in a shorter time than other strategies such as HMO service accommodation? I would say yes.
Yeah, I would. Yeah.
I think
they're much easier because it's just one tenant. And generally, a single-let property is easier to rent in a HMO. And it's less problems. So and it's a little bit cheaper as well. Most single-let people are only 10%. You can negotiate lower than that, but generally it's 10%.
Yeah.
I think, absolutely.
This is from Ibrahim Uddin. Mm-hmm. When trying to secure rent-to-rent HMO deals, what is the best way to approach an agent? I usually phone and ask if the landlord is open to a corporate type of agreement, and then find a lot of them say they need to ask the landlord and never get back to me, or they're just not interested. Do I need more explanation, or should I be adopting a different initial approach? That's
a question for you. That's your area.
Yeah, so rent-to-rent HMO deals, I would say it's easier to steer clear from your traditional high street letting agents, off Rightmove, and you're better off keeping a similar approach after a corporate let agreement, but speaking to, say, landlords off places like Gumtree and Open Rent, and there's some of the agencies on there. They're much smaller agencies, much more flexible to doing this sort of deal. Traditionally, than your traditional estate agent. So approach is similar, but yeah, just don't go to smaller agencies and landlords direct.
Yeah. Do you know I've just sent out a load of messages on Gumtree because I'm working with somebody to find a load of deals for them in and around London, and we've just sent out like 60 messages, and we've had 9 responses so far.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, not bad. So just literally 60 messages with a little one line script.
18%.
Yeah, a little one line script. properties that match the criteria we're looking for. And we've had 9 messages come back this morning saying, yeah, we're open to conversations. Give us a call and let's discuss. So I've got a lot of phone calls to make this afternoon, trying to get these deals secured for the investor I'm working with at the minute. So yeah, Gumtree is the way forward for these sort of things because you're direct to vendor and you've got a mix of apartments and HMOs.
Yeah. All right, last one. Advice for a 17-year-old wanting to become a deal sourcer.
Get yourself along to the crash course. Learn about it. Learn how to find good deals. Learn how to find investors. Get your terms and conditions correct and in place. Get all your legal paperwork in place. Get your compliance in place. Make sure you're trading legally compliant and ethically. Find deals. Find investors. Match them up. Correct paperwork. Get paid. Boom, shaka, move on.
So there you go, Matty. Simple as that. Simple as that. Well, guys, thanks ever so much for tuning into this week's show. We are back next Saturday at 7 p.m. Please don't forget to listen. You can hear us on iTunes, you can hear us on Spotify, you can hear us all, we're everywhere. So please do tune in, and we look forward to seeing you next week.
Cool, guys. Thanks. See ya.